Or whatever.
We have to be, they've always talked about, only been in the depth of the park and they
The little details would be a pain.
Now that's Zumbrota.
No, that's a cover bridge.
Oh, okay. I think there's more to claim the name from this
It's now I can stop seeing the table.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start. This is our monthly Orinoco Economic Development. Well, it's Tuesday, September 23rd, 6:30 p.m. So with that, roll call, please.
Ryland,
Here.
Dan,
Here.
Jan, here, Kathy,
Here.
and we're missing Jamie and Adam, and
Excused.
Mr. Baker is not here tonight.
Jason's not here. Okay.
And then we have visitors Marty Walsh and Laura from EDA.
All right, so we'll,
Go ahead.
so we have an agenda, points 5, 6, and 7. Make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Second.
Any changes or corrections?
We will add, Ryan, I didn't put it in here, but reports underneath networking for letter C, just Laura would like to introduce herself to everybody. Right, Laura? Yes.
Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the agenda as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, that's approved. The packet is a copy of the August 26th minutes. Make a motion, we approve the August 26th minutes.
Second.
I'm sorry.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, it's approved. Okay, public hearings. Branding project update.
Yeah, I think Jan, you were there, Rylan, you were there as well, and kind of in and out of that meeting. At a virtual meeting on the 16th of September at 4 o'clock, Whitney West shared 3 possibilities for the group. There were 10 people there to vote on. After the reveal, the group kind of narrowed it down to numbers 1 and 3 to go forward with. And you can see in your packet, number 1 is Orinoco with a bridge. There's a variety of different Orinoco fonts and ways of looking at it. And number 3 is Orinoco with a tree with a root system. We're kind of voted on to go forward with, and the next meeting will be a kind of an online vote. I did make copies that you can take with you of the updated Orinoco, because then they took number 1 and they added different fonts to it. So you're free to look at those. And then obviously, if you're a part of the committee, you'll make a vote, which one you prefer. And then kind of go from there.
So I think. No, Jan, Kathy and I are,
I'm not.
we're not.
Yeah, just you.
Okay.
Adam.
So this
Yeah.
you have, it's 1D.
Yeah.
You have a highlighted yellow.
Yeah, 1D is kind of one that that's not the one it's going to be, but that is one that I think the office is kind of leaning toward, people who work here in the city hall, but it's not for sure by any means.
Mhm.
Can I ask just a quick question? I have been so out of it. I missed last week meeting and maybe 2 meetings. I don't know, but okay, we're just looking at the logo, the graphics. There's no
No color yet. Oh, I'm sorry.
no color, no words and phrases, no.
just,
No taglines.
Just graphics.
this is the thing that like they'll put on all the city trucks and all of your
Gotcha.
documents and everything.
What is it now? The gold brush guy?
Yes. It's on the
And
signs.
right now, sometimes just Oracle Public Works,
Yeah,
like just the wording.
yeah,
no
I've seen
insignia,
that too.
others.
Okay.
But if you look at our city website, there's a circle with a bridge on it that Jason put on a couple months ago. That was just a thought,
Gotcha,
we didn't have anything.
gotcha.
So at the meeting, it was, I'd speak up, but so I spoke for like 1B or whatever. I said you have to kind of pick out something that is to the group that you can recognize Orinoco with, and then you can look at the bridge, you know, the bridge is kind of the iconic thing to see what you do. They talked about the tree and the tree that they were talking about, either 3A or they're looking at, I said, I've seen that logo somewhere else. Either landscape, but it had, the leaves were colored or whatever, and to me, I said, a tree really doesn't say anything about Orinoco. The one is supposed to be a basswood somewhere that they have here, but no one would ever know about that bigger tree is a basswood
That's the one in the park.
in the park or whatever, but
Yeah.
nobody really.
Oh, I recognize that right away.
Okay, well, but the most people wouldn't know. And I think I said.
Seriously, have you ever been in that park and seen that tree?
Yes.
Okay,
I just, as I look at some of the other cities, when they look at things, as a Zumbo, they've got the covered bridge kind of logo in their thing. And I believe, Ryan, you said the same thing, that you thought that the bridge was more a replica of Orinoco. Looking at things, to look at things you talked about. They talked about, after they took the dam out, about kayaking in the river and nature and things like that, and that represents quite a bit. There's too many cities, as I brought up, I mean, there's an awful lot of cities that have a tree as a logo, or their park and rec department has a tree on the thing, and we're really not getting a logo for park and rec or doing things like that. It's to look at something, and I did start out that I thought that the Gold Rush, 51 years of Gold Rush, everyone in Arnold knows Gold Rush, but as the committee goes, they were kind of going away from the minor, and I knew I was gonna lose that battle. But that is what, around the country, they come from all around the country for Gold Rush to see, but that's only 3 or 4 days out of the year, and I understand that. So when they brought the bridge up in Orinoco and different things, that's something that iconic that I can look and say, when you drive by 52 and you look over to the lights around, whatever, you can actually see that. I guess I've been around Orinoco and got things here all my life, and you just know certain things, and the tree just doesn't do it. That's all I want to say to the committee, is that I strongly think that the bridge needs to be in the river. It says a lot more about Orinoco and recreation and things to do than a tree. Because I'm almost gonna say Family Tree has a tree on for their logo, for their landscape business, or different things. I know I've seen that tree with the leaves, different colors.
Mhm.
I know I've seen that somewhere around Rochester, somewhere that someone's got that logo. And they said, well, it kind of shows growth and things like that. Well, as I told them, a bridge together. Bridging the new with the old, different things. So I'll leave it at that, but that just, I want to come to the committee here. I've sat through these meetings and stuff, and
Well, just make sure you share your comments with Whitney before the 29th.
yeah, I did. I said that I was for the bridge. I'm in it for the bridge, not the tree. I think I said it back to you guys or whatever. I was trying to figure out how to do that.
Well, the tree's popular. Pine Island has the Charter House uses a big tree on their logo for Charter House. So
Mhm.
it's popular. There's no doubt about that. Okay, yeah, make sure you get your comments back to, so the idea is, I think we're coming down to 1 or 2 to take to the community, I think is the
Yeah,
goal.
that's the 29th. Was that when the?
29th is by the
Deadline.
29th is what Whitney was asking for. I think once these two, or whatever the voting is, that's when they will start working with the colors.
Okay.
So
Yeah, just looking at all of them, the river one, I know exactly where I'm at, here in Orinoco with this one, this is.
So, all right. But it's a good process they're going through, and I think it's, plus we have a lot of other stuff to, with the taglines and stuff like that, we still need to work on yet too, so this is the first part of this. All right, new business, Marty Wolf is the economic director for People's Energy Cooperative, and he's gonna share some information about a housing project. Yeah.
Yeah, Kurt's got a PowerPoint here.
You know, do that.
Click to the laptop on the screen. There you go.
So while we get that pulled up, just a little bit of background. We are not doing a housing development. We are offering land up to be done as a housing development. So we don't know a lot about the final steps. We have some objectives for it. I was tracking along with the zoning updates for a while. And we had hoped to wait until those were all done. But because some stuff going co-op, we just wanted to get the project moving beforehand, so we'll still have to fine tune some things with updates to the zoning, city zoning code. But I met with Jason and he recommended, bring Kurt in the loop, just to have people aware of the project, and Kurt thought that this would be of interest to the folks here. So I want to give a good rundown. That's fun. On what we've got here. And I've got notes on my phone, so I'm not texting while I talk, but
They used to do that.
I mean, it might be, but I'm gonna tell you that I'm looking at my notes. Maybe.
Oh, you got that repeat?
Yeah.
Where's that?
Well, they're figuring that out and Kurt knows a little bit. The property that is, and I have it up on a map, is the property that used to be the co-op septic system. So once we hooked into the city municipal sewer system, we didn't need that to be a septic system anymore. And so we started kind of brainstorming on what could be some opportune uses, beneficial to the cooperative, beneficial to our members, beneficial to the city, and help live out our mission of being a trusted community and business partner. And we, in doing so, identified from a number of sources that housing and how we can support housing would probably be the best thing there. My professional opinion is, while affordable housing is really important, any housing is what we ultimately need in this region. See a lot of houses, even in my neighborhood in Rochester, that should be $200,000 houses going for $300,000 because there's no $200,000 houses to buy. So, or because there's no $300,000 houses to buy, so they bid up the next most affordable housing that they can. So we're not saying this won't be affordable housing, but we're not explicitly pursuing it to be affordable housing. And I think that's important to understand. The city, a developer is going to have to make that fight themselves and make that argument themselves and figure out how that's going to work.
But do you happen to have an insight of why this isn't coming up?
No clue. I could email it to you if you, to that desktop, if that would be.
And
Popped up last time.
there was one of these. So you said,
Please. We close down to that. We go to this one. Shoot.
Hold on, stop that. This is me, so hold on. Oh,
PowerPoint at the bottom there.
just leave it just like that.
There you go.
And then if I go to,
To slideshow.
yep.
All right.
It's just okay.
We had issues in getting it on the slideshow version of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna. We'll just look at it like this.
Yeah.
So if you can still advance it, yeah. Yeah, so we're referring it to it just as the Orinoco Housing Project, Orinoco Crossing Housing Project. Again, I'm the Economic Development and Key Accounts Manager for the co-op, and there about 6 years before that, I worked for CEDA. Before that was a financial advisor for Edward Jones down in Mason City. Go ahead and go. So this is again, the lots that highlighted in green, where they're on the left, Camp World and all that stuff is there on the right. Our solar field on the top right, baseball field at 12 o'clock. And then as a reminder, the residential kind of what we call behind our project is not currently in the city limits. It's my understanding that there is a plan and maybe even a requirement long-term that will need to be annexed into the city and be connected to the wastewater system because of the county's regulations on public health. And that's one of the ways that you may annex people is they say they need to be annexed. So that is something to maybe keep in the back of your head. So just a little bit, go ahead, Kurt. About the lot, it's 5.32 acres, including that weird little leg that goes off the side. It doesn't include the retention pond that's right there. Serves its purposes, leach field. Cost basis, which becomes relevant, 313. Very quick math, 371 would be what we think the market value would be. Doing a little additional research, I think it might be higher than that, but that's what we're going with. So next slide, we looked at a number of options, and this would be animated. We could sell without restriction, let whatever happens happen there. Sell with some guidelines. We could develop it ourselves, similar to how we did the Orinoco Crossings commercial development. Or we could kind of do a wait and see. We weren't too keen on that. We'd like to get out of the real estate game. So we settled on selling with guidelines. And as I said, identify housing as the biggest priority. We see housing consistently comes up in our business retention expansion survey. And it comes up from our developers, and it comes up from the Olmsted County housing analysis, which I'll get into a little bit. Go ahead, Kurt. So our objective is to maximize the long-term value to the cooperative. And I'll say that as you're obviously all residents of Orinoco, you are all member owners of the cooperative. So anything that the co-op does, long-term benefit, if it benefits the co-op, we're talking about benefiting you, our consumer member owners. Supporting cooperative principles, there's 7 principles that guide all cooperatives. This is pulled from a board report, so board members would have known them. A big thing is concern for community and economic participation. It inspires innovative housing solutions regionally. So we know that by us de-risking this project a little bit, we can maybe prove to some other projects, hey, you can do this too. There's a fear of first mover, right, in housing projects. And I'll get into what I mean by innovative housing in just a minute. And then serving as a role model for leveraging institutional land. We know that there's 3, 4, 5 parcels similar size to this regionally, that if we can demonstrate how an institution can be involved, maybe we see some more movement. So some of the incentives that we would be looking at to de-risk, reduce price, one would be a discounted price. So we would go from that appraised value, that 370 say, or 375, down to the 315, 300 mark, offer that as a forgivable loan, that as long as they stay within the development agreement gets forgiven. Then use that as a match for a Dairyland Power, which is where we buy our power from, low interest loan. So we can help keep some pressure down on this project. We're also looking at some custom rebates. And I'll tell you, we've been in communications with the Cedar Crest folks, with Dragon, about how they can also take advantage of those rebates, because we're not interested in undercutting somebody else's project. Again, why housing? No other uses are likely to succeed here in this parcel. It's only about 195 feet wide. So we think if there was commercial that went in there, it would probably just be storage. And that's not really a great load for us. And it's probably not what is great for the city of Orinoco, we don't think. Housing, as we said, is not growing at a rate needed to support growth, economic growth regionally. Olmsted County has a study, our business retention expansion survey, all point towards we need greater housing supply to get a larger workforce. Shortage of labor is the #1 constraint of economic growth in Southeast Minnesota. Shortage of housing is the #1 constraint on labor. And then per our own economic development plan, we'll support housing. This is a lot of text, so I'll just point out in the housing study, the comprehensive needs analysis, they identified that the cost of construction and development makes it so that rents are unattainable if you're renting or for cost of purchase are unattainable to pay for the house that needs to get built at the price that houses are going for, that people need to be hitting. And that pretty much the only way we're going to see significant housing get built is through some form of private-public partnership, especially outside of Rochester. So the co-op is willing to step in here and be the public in that environment. So next.
Excuse me, will these slides be part of the minutes tonight? It's going out on Zoom.
Yeah. That should be okay. Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
So this is just, again, some potential project objectives for a developer. So what we've done is we've put out a request for qualifications, the developer to come forward and say, hey, here's what we've done in Mankato and Rochester and Mason City, La Crosse, whatever. And these are some of the things that we're going to be looking for. Somebody came in with a 10 units per acre maximum, project that really maximized compactness. We think that'd be great, and I'll go into a little bit of why. I know that that's a stretch and that's gonna be tough here, but I think there's different approaches. That's the objective. That doesn't mean that that's where we end up. We wanna go with this innovative housing designs and variety of units and types. Qualifying for our ElectroSense new home rebate, so that's another way that we're gonna push this down. Basically what that means is they're all electric housing, no natural gas. So there's not an additional cost incurred of bringing natural gas into that site because there isn't natural gas there. We want to facilitate the installation of EV charging infrastructure and then leverage multiple programs to maximize the benefit to the cooperative. Again, there's things out there. One of the things, and the reason we're not saying this has to be affordable housing, this has to be whatever, is we're seeing that oftentimes these structured support programs end up driving the cost of development significantly higher. And so the subsidy is all on the demand side. And if you do Econ 101, pushing up demand just pushes prices higher. We're trying to focus really on the supply side here and drive the cost down from that side. And also, rather than using structured programs, hearing from developers what can make this project more successful for you, rather than us trying to guess that at a time. We're not housing developers. And I would say that even regionally, or local to Rochester, there's probably a lot of room for improvement in what can make it successful. We want to hear what they experienced in these other communities. So when I talk about innovative housing, go ahead, next slide. These are innovative, just means innovative to the region, things that we're not seeing a lot of in Southeast Minnesota. So things like twin homes and association maintained communities. They're the least common forms of housing in the county. Larger rental units, so things that are 3-bedroom plus, they're always in short supply with no vacancies and long waiting lists. And then all electric housing with things like built-in EV conduit, smart thermostats, heat pump appliances, all that. We'd want to see, or we would favor a proposal that came forward with some of those. And I'll give an example. So that townhome development there is down in Mason City. And one of the really neat things about that is those are available for sale or rent. They can be in the same facility. They're 2-story townhomes, but they're constructed such that with the construction of one 10 square foot wall, you could subdivide and put an ADU upstairs. So there's plumbing to the upstairs to put a kitchenette in. So you can have it as either a 3-bedroom house or 2 1-bedroom townhouses stacked. That is the sort of thing. Doesn't mean we're looking for that project here, just that is the sort of innovation that we're looking for. It doesn't mean wild and outside, crazy units or anything, just something we're not seeing locally.
So that's a 10 unit?
Those are 10 units total, yeah.
10 unit.
I think actually right now it is all combined, so it's 5 units, but it could be up to 10 units.
Yeah. Okay.
So why exactly do we want to encourage density? These are some units in Byron. And so just to point out, that same development could be twice the density if you did it like the project in Mason City. That is, I think 12 units per acre. So the benefit are that we're increasing the sales for less build out costs. The city's cost to a development like that for the number of housing units is significantly lower. Same for the co-op. Our total utility plant per member is significantly lower because we're building 1 10-foot line rather than maybe 8, 10 to 20, 30 foot lines per house, plus all the connecting wires, plus all that. Here, we're reducing costs in that way. And also because we're spreading all of those costs, the site development costs, the whack and sack fees, driveway fees, all of that onto a smaller number of those for more units, reducing the cost to the end up final person.
So I have a question, where, when you talk about the dense housing in the streets, I've been up some of those places. You have a guest come there, there's virtually no parking. So, and I think some of those things are all, if that's one in Byron, those are all private streets, so the city doesn't plow those streets. It's up to the people in the townhouse association to do that. And if you have someone come over, there's no place for you to park your vehicle, which in any place is, you got a 2-car garage. And things like that, in a small plot like that, I just, if you have a 2 or 3 bedroom and you have some other people there, there could be three cars, very possibly 3 cars.
Yeah, so I think, so our CFO lives in actually that building right there. I didn't know it when I made that picture, but to point out, she lives on the backside of the center building here. And I think hers is a 2-bedroom unit, which is the more common thing. I think I don't even think the corner ones are 3 bedrooms. They're a little bigger, but I think there's 2-bedroom. That would, I would say, fall on the developer. What is marketable? What do they think they can build at a profit? Just putting up as a general example, I know there's a development similar to this down behind Menard South. And they have a couple of communal parking spots, so you have things, and then kind of like on the left side there would be 3 additional parking spots that rotate through.
My wife's niece lived there for a while. And they had plenty of extra, I mean, they had garages, but they also had the extra now.
Yeah.
The condos that Dragon's building over behind the 2 sisters, that was specifically asked, and they did put in extra parking.
Yeah, and again, that would be on a developer to get
That's
that part through, but I think we're seeing, there's a development up in, it's technically Wabasha, but it's between Wabasha and Kellogg. Again, kind of similar to their standalone homes, but they're pretty tight together. And they're seeing most families only have 1 vehicle. Because they're attracting a lot of young families, starter families, and they're happy to just have it. They're not to that stage in life where they have multiple vehicles. They only have younger kids. This is filling that gap in that case between apartment living and 3-bedroom, 3-car garage that they want to get into eventually.
Right, because even in Rochester, Stonehenge, $300,000-$400,000 townhomes, same thing. The streets are very narrow, the snow removal, everything goes along with it. When you get a foot of snow, they start pushing snow around those places. There's not a whole lot of places to put the snow on the property, and everyone's got to get their vehicle off.
Yeah,
To be able to do it, so that high density, I'm just saying in a small area, there's a lot of things that, even in the very expensive $400,000-$500,000 places.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, that's a level of specificity. It's a very valid question to bring up, level of specificity that I'm not equipped to answer.
Okay.
We want to see what people bring and what the innovative solutions, people are doing this in St. Cloud, in Duluth, in places with plenty of snow, and I'm guessing they've got some ideas. So.
And just a comparison what Dragon is doing, he's put in 24-foot streets because he did approach the fire department to make sure their emergency vehicles could get through those, not have narrow streets, so.
Yeah. So, yep.
Just a point, yeah.
So one of the things I did this for the power side, and you don't need to see the power side, but part of how we can reduce the cost is because we will make more money back on this as a denser development. Therefore, we don't have to pass it on rates to people. But looked at a water impact. So using your water studies, your rates, kind of what they told you to estimate. If you looked at like a 1 unit per acre, large lot, single family, looking around $4,800 a year in water revenue, a little over $20,000 in the sewer availability charge and investment fee. Scaling up, I want to be very clear, we are not proposing that, and I don't think we would be able to get behind a 54 unit, 3-story apartment building, just trying to show the outside end of what is possible. But if we were looking, say, at a couple of, 4 8-plex units or some 16 unit 2-story buildings, there's a lot of different items. I've got some more examples. $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year in additional revenue from water, a couple $100,000 potentially in the investment fee upfront, which is going to significantly reduce the burden on the rest of the city. And I think it's an important thing to consider. What does development do to the cost for the rest of the city? So there's some other things, property tax revenue, and I will go into that. There's also development fees you could be collecting on this, and then gaining the workforce and the consumers. When I've talked to retail developers and we talk about Orinoco as a spot they would maybe want to put another gas station or things, there's not enough rooftops. There's not enough people here for them to be interested in developing here. And that's a challenge a city like Dover faces. There's a lot of things. So unless you had a private developer, an independent person who's going to go in on that, we hear that pretty consistently from retailers. They're not very interested right now. So next slide is some property tax estimates. So the city or Olmsted County has a really cool tool. You can plug in different things. You can take a building from one place and plug it into a different city. Again, if you looked at 5 single-family homes at $450,000, city's take on that would be about $7,800. To go up to, so the Kodiak is not by any means a very luxe apartment, but it's a pretty nice one in Byron, kind of behind the McDonald's there. You have the Eastgate in Rochester, which is a very large, very new, very spectacular, big building. You can see rapidly the tax revenue starts to go up pretty quickly to the city, and your investment is not significantly higher, if it's even higher at all. It can be, depending on how this site's laid out, might be lower. That's something to dig into with the developer, but it's a significant thing. So if you go to the next one, I dug in a little deeper on the quarters, which is.
Just one, you go back. So those, the bottom 4 are all apartment buildings?
Yeah.
And the top one is your 5?
Yeah.
Which what you're looking at?
Yeah, just as a comparison, I did, the county hadn't updated some stuff. We had to request an update on the townhomes in Byron. I have that on the next slide in the notes to give a comparison. For whatever reason there, that property tax page wasn't working when I built this. But to look at the quarters in Rochester, just to give you a sense of what kind of revenue you're talking about. So go to the next page. This is 60 units in 5 buildings, which is about 10 units per acre. There's some green space where they're going to develop additional buildings. They have a little community center, big lawn, volleyball courts. That in Rochester, and these are 15, 20-year-old buildings. These are not new. That in Orinoco would generate county estimates $28,000 a year in city taxes, $72,000 a year in water revenue, $310,000 one-time water revenue for hookups. The 10-year revenue to the city of Orinoco without development fees, other than the water development fee, $1.3 million. When I was doing this for the Byron townhomes today, if you went, I did with either 4 chunks or 5 chunks, so between $46,000 and $55,000 a year in property tax revenue. They're newer buildings, they're valued higher. $60,000 to $72,000 a year in water, $260,000 to $310,000 in one-time water hookup fees. So now you're talking 1.3, 1.5, $1.6 million. $50,000 a year in additional property tax revenue would be 3.5% of your city tax levy.
But you're not looking at a 3-story.
No, for the townhomes would be over $50,000.
Yeah, okay.
So to put those townhomes in, to put 4 or 5 townhomes, I forget if I did 4 and 5 or 5 and 6, but in that neighborhood, because your levy will change in the next few years too. 3.5% of your levy that could be paid for just by that development. And some of the other, I also looked at the fire truck, the fire safety place. They'd be looking at like another $25,000 in just the city share of their tax revenue. That's a lot packed in for almost no additional infrastructure investment right in that area, knocking down a lot of your stuff. And I think that that's something that needs to be considered is what do both sides of the ledger look like here? So a couple other things to consider. If you want to go down one more, Kurt. You have the same or less infrastructure for the entire project as compared to single family homes if you do a little density. There are also some city projects that could be timed to reduce some costs. So based on your existing codes and things, maybe for your parking issue, you say, hey, we want the developer, instead of doing a park, to do some park improvements to the baseball field. We want them to put in 15, 20 parking spots along, what is it, 12th Street there. Or anything, we want a bike walking path along the road. There's things like that. Then also, when you annex that subdivision, in talking to the city engineer, the intent is to access the water main off of 12th onto 2nd. That could be timed to be done at the same time as this project, cutting the cost to the city by 30, 40, 50, 60%. So you're bringing in those new houses as well. Lots of opportunities there. And then additionally, you get the revenue growth and the population growth while preserving some land adjacent to existing developments for more similar developments. So you kind of get the best of both worlds, because there's nothing else around this that's going to grow into. You do have the couple of homes outside of the city, but that's not going to grow much either. C.H. Robinson is not going to allow housing to encroach on their facility. So you're saving maybe more prime housing development land for the larger lot development that would be consistent with the city of Orinoco's general plan. This is also, I didn't put this in here, but in your comp plan, this is R2. Currently it's zoned M because that was the plan. That's what it needed to be for the wastewater facility, but it is zoned for mid-density residential in your comp plan. So just a couple other things kind of on the process. Again, so we put out this RFQ. We have gotten some interest, exciting from like some smaller developers, people who are getting started, people who see the opportunity, and some folks from a little further afield we're also interested in. Go ahead, next slide. But it'll be sent to a variety of regional and national development groups because we think it's a pretty attractive parcel. Rochester area builders, obviously, but then as I mentioned, Mason City, Mankato, La Crosse, Eau Claire, there's developers there who want to get into this market and maybe have a little bit sharper pencils they can get in here. So we're going to accept those proposal or the qualifications through November 14th. And then we'll probably invite maybe even a couple of them come talk to council or EDA or P&Z. We want them to say what would make this project more attainable for them versus giving us a full proposal. So we're not, November 15th, we do not expect to see, here's a general development plan. We expect to say, here's 3 or 4 projects we've already developed and here's what we think we can do at a very high level. What are the hurdles that we're not seeing? So
the RFQ I understand what you're doing. It just seems like it's the chicken or the egg, and how, the RFQ is gonna give you a whole bunch of ideas and how you determine that based on the city codes.
So it's going to give us a whole bunch of people, we hope, and we're going to be working on who seems to be the most qualified to work within the parameters that we provide and that the city constructs. So we don't, if we get someone who's only ever built in Minneapolis, Chicago, wherever, probably not the best fit. But if we have someone who shows, hey, we've done, 7 developments in cities under 5,000 people in the last 10 years, that's who we want to be talking to. But we didn't want to exclude anybody or expect somebody to do a full proposal could be a $20,000 project for them. We didn't want to have that be the case before they even had a real crack at it, especially with the zoning code still being a little up in the air.
So the RFQ is looking to find, what's the bottom line for the RFQ? Is the dollar figure?
To find a development partner, just a development partner that we think can be successful.
Yeah.
And you're saying you want this all to be all electric?
That's our objective. So the best proposal would come in saying, here's how we think we can get the most number of units on this lot, then this is why we think the city will agree with us. Here's how we're going to do it all electric. Here, X, Y, and Z. If someone comes in and says, we'll buy this lot from you for $600,000 and we're going to put up 8 single-family homes that are gonna have all gas appliances, we're gonna have to seriously consider a figure like that too. But our objective, the ideal proposal would be all electric.
So-
And that's again, part of how we keep the development costs down, because we recoup the revenue from that.
So do you envision whoever does submit a response to your RFQ, are they gonna come to the city and
I
ask
would,
for guidance with planning?
I would expect so, yes.
Our engineering?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, so
Who's gonna pay for all that extra services? The reason I say that, because a developer puts together, a cost security agreement, which pays for engineering responses to the plans, administrative work to the plans. So right now, without a CSA, the taxpayers are funding all of that.
I think once, if they're getting to that stage, then they would need to have it, but if they have questions about what does this component of your development plan mean? What does it of your zoning code mean? What does, can I get access to your map? Things like that. That, as you would expect to see from any other developer.
I don't mean to be the devil advocate, I'm just saying.
No, there's a line,
We get into situations where we don't have a cost security agreement, all of a sudden we got a $12,000 bill from engineering and planning services and saying, that's my concern.
yeah, and that's again, part of why we want to get some developers narrowed down first, so that you don't have 20 different developers trying to do proposals.
Okay, good.
Generate
That's
the
good, I like
revenue,
that.
yeah. But I will check with Mr. Baker and tell him, hey, when people are, if they start calling and asking for that, pass them our way first, and we'll make sure they have all the resources that we've already gathered. Instead, and explain the level of detail we expect in their RFQ.
Well, I had written a comment as you were going through your slides and all of a sudden you hit it when you talked about density, because I was curious how you fit into our comp plan, and density no doubt is in our comp plan. And this definitely fits that.
Yeah, and I believe, so I think that the new language is around like 4.3 units per acre or something is the R2 allowance.
Plan.
That high.
It's 10,000 square feet for multi-housing. R2 is what is
Just about
currently
4
going to be
yeah.
proposed. So that's,
Yeah,
just over 4.
maybe 4.1 or 4 point, so it's in there. I think we're really interested in I would say compactness over density. Think about that 2 different ways. Compactness is how you limit your infrastructure investment. And so that's why I know we're asking to go beyond. We're gonna ask for a CUP to go beyond. Do I think we're gonna get to 10? I think we'd have to make a very good argument to convince a lot of people. But I would hate to go for 4.5 and then find out we could have gone to 5. So that's always my philosophy on these kind of projects.
Back up. I think the proposal is 14,000 square feet for multi-housing in R2 and 10,000 for single family in R2. So 14,000 is currently the
For how many units on 14?
for multi-unit. So whatever the R2 up to 3
I think.
maybe. I think
Which,
it's-
so right there, you're actually at. You're at like 6 units per acre right there. Acre's 40,000 square feet.
Yeah, 43,000 or so. And
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the rate, you're almost maybe if it's 3 per 14,000, you're almost at 9 acres right there, or nine units per acre right there.
yeah, and I think it's depending on how it gets allotted out, right? Like,
And that's part of why we're at the RFQ, not the RFP, because we don't know exactly how that's gonna end up in the next couple of months. And there's different ways. There's also, we own a little bit of land around that, so if it was, hey, we need to just guarantee that you're not gonna see this other parcel go to development, we might do an easement or something. We've also talked about, so one of the developers that has already reached out does cooperative housing. And they'd need to have a community center for their annual meeting. Well, depending upon how big it is, we could host that at the co-op. We could have a long-term agreement to host it at the co-op. So there's just so many fuzzy edges around this. That's why I don't want to get too down the road at any one style of development. There's a lot of stuff that could come forward. I'm not a housing developer. Nobody in the co-op is.
I would, In Goodhue, I've seen where they put up some senior, I guess I look at parking, the land and
Yeah.
and more people together. Is they have in Goodhue and some different things, they have two-story or whatever. Less garage, less cars because it's the seniors that are there. So you get your density that you
Yep.
want. The turnover rate, I would think, depending on what it is, would be greater because most people move in there at an older age and health-wise, whatever. The turnover, 3, 4 years, people are there, they're gone. The unit is up, in the housing is manageable, that someone owns the stuff so that you know. I always look at the upkeep and what it's gonna look like when they put up a building, a cheaper building. What's the life expectancy of that building
Yeah,
to go down the road? In other words, it turns into a very eyesore, nobody wants to do it, and someone says, well, put any more money in it, it's not worth putting money in. So I'm always thinking, when you're in a plot like that, is that I see it I see it in all these little small communities. I think up in Cannon Falls, they put a two-story right on when you come off the bridge of Main, think way there for the seniors.
oh, yeah, I know, yeah,
I mean, I'm just saying is you have a parking lot, the people are there in the parking lot and they don't need the garages because they can park their car or whatever. It's just my thought when you look at this piece, when I see this narrow piece like that, it's one person that owns it, that you know, that you go to, you're dealing with one individual to make it look
Yeah,
right and
and-
look good versus if I have 10, the housing, when I go down, behind the car dealerships in Rochester, DeWitt's did build the housing where they had houses, high density houses. No garage, two together, and you drive down those streets now, and it's one of the biggest eyesores. I could see it in Rochester, they're parking on, there is no front yard, there is nothing, they're not taken care of. And this person takes care of half a house, and this person over here doesn't. And when you go down through those neighborhoods, it is really totally an eyesore, and that always is what I always look at to say, what do you have that one individual in that parcel?
yeah,
And it's all electric and just a lot of things that the older people, in other words, electric, their heat's taken care of, everything's taken care
Yeah.
of, which falls into your electrical thing, whatever you do, whatever. And there's always turnover for more people coming into town. They're aging to sell their place to be able to move in. So that's my always surprise when I think of that.
yeah. And so again, that co-op that I mentioned, that those developers that work on a project over in St. Peter, same thing. So it's almost like a condo. They own the whole thing cooperatively and they're taking care of it. I don't know that that's gonna work out because of the style of building. I don't think would fit in Orinoco, but they're looking at what some other building options would be if they could do a style that would fit and still be the cooperative model. But yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned these would be purchased units
That'd be up to what the developer thinks will work.
versus rentals, okay. So with this being long and narrow, and I don't mean to get in the weeds real quick, but will this have 2 accesses?
So in talking to Joe, it would be required to,
Yes.
2 or 3 even. So one thought was maybe you start with 2 off of Lake Shady, and then when you do when you repave Second/Elm, depending on which map you look at, then you add another one off that side. Again, lots of options.
All the
but
townships?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah, because another kind of quirky thing is your right of way for Lake Shady Avenue is incredibly far wider than it needs to be by standard. But you need some additional right of way when Second becomes a city street. So maybe looking at, you vacate 10 feet of right of way on the Lake Shady side and condemn 10 feet of right of way on the Second Street side, something like that. Those again are those really specific things we didn't want to bog down a proposal with. But then make it, again, really more attainable for the city.
Yeah.
So,
So when you get the RFQs, do you see the process of coming to EDA or the council for zoning, or what's your envision of getting the
We're-
acceptance from the
we're
city?
kind of waiting to see what the volume is. But I think that we would seek at least staff input pretty early on.
It's your and everybody's advantage,
Yeah.
of course.
So Rylan, is this parcel of that narrowness about the same size that the city or had up at behind the gas and go for their septic system? Is that about the same acreage and the same thing that this?
You know, the gas can go.
I mean, you're up
System
across
there.
from the, for the Two Sisters, whatever, that was all,
Yeah, that was a mound system across the street. that they
yeah,
took
the
out.
city, that's city property, correct?
Is that-
Yeah, city property, correct?
Which,
The mound system was right behind, they had a white fence, it's just like what you had,
that was Tom's.
huh?
That was Tom's.
Okay, so that's not city property then?
No, no, no. it's not.
Okay, I was just curious, so the long narrow strip like that.
You
Same type
you
of
could do
system,
the same project.
if they do one like this, if there was
Yeah.
a, if it worked there, it would have worked, you know, what I'm, that's
Yeah.
my thought process.
Any questions for Marty?
Well, it's an interesting concept. I like it
Yeah.
because it does.
Yeah, and I think it's important to recognize, I was honestly surprised when I pulled up your guys' tax levy and then looked at that, and that 3.5%. A meaningful number for sure. I think that needs to be kept in mind, and again, a couple $100,000 for water access when you only have to maybe put in two
I'm
pieces.
sure Dave Dunn likes this approach.
Yeah, and so we also worked with the county, we worked with Rochester Coalition for Greater Rochester Coalition for Housing, I always forget what their name is. We sought some input from a few people, developer that works in the cities on some projects, just, hey, what are we missing, what are the things? So we tried to see around most corners, but inevitably some corner, there's gonna be another corner we didn't realize was there, and someone's gonna surprise us, but we'll deal with that, so. I've got cards somewhere. So if those of you who don't have my card, I'll leave a few with Kurt, you can just put them in the office and, if you have any further questions. Otherwise,
I didn't realize they kind of dialed the Highway 52, the Golden Road or.
yeah, they went the whole way, yeah. It's like the golden spike on I-90 over by Blue Earth. Ever driven over that?
What's that?
There's 15 feet of I-90 when you go head west. And it's where I-90 met east to west, but then two different places for the eastbound lanes, the westbound lanes, because they didn't meet at the same place. But they painted it, they dyed the concrete, so it's a different color. It's gold, it's golden asphalt, yeah. You've driven over that? Never, I like, that's weird, that's what it is. The golden spike for.
All the time.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marty.
Thank you, I
Very good, thank you.
am gonna head back to my understood practice, so.
I sent you.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so we move on.
Yeah.
So speaking with Jason and Laura, we have money budgeted for a pedestrian trail planning and expansion. And one of the expansions possibilities was to possibly run a trail to Douglas Trail. Is that correct? Was it
That was one
Pride?
of two.
One of two, and the other one was
The other was to follow the Lake Shady frontage road up
Leach.
on the west side, Lake Shady north
Okay,
to where it meets Pine Island, which comes this way,
yeah,
and
and
then,
just run it there.
yeah. So we'd be
Okay.
working with,
With,
the idea is to just extend that all the way up to County Road 5 on the right of ways. There's about a 6-foot right of way on either side.
okay, there are some grants available.
Safe City
Laura
roads.
looked at it today, like Safe Routes to School. It's like a 7-mile route from Orinoco to get to Pine Island School.
This is, okay,
So we'll see if that, yeah, we'll see if that's a possibility.
is that this MnDOT safe routes?
Yep. And then there was Active Transportation Planning Assistance Grant, but those will open in 2026. So that would work with our park future or comprehensive plan, wouldn't it? The bicycle route.
Yeah, I think that's,
I think that works with our comprehensive.
that was a, yeah.
Did anybody look at getting a route to Douglas Trail?
Well, that's on the county project. There is a project with ROGOG, ROCOG. At one time, there was a plan to add a trail along 100th Street from Orinoco to Douglas Trail. And I was just looking at this the other day that ROCOG has approved. There was a public hearing in August, I missed it, of their bike trail plan, this Iowa State or Minnesota
Yeah.
State School Trail Plan. It didn't identify 100th Street, but it had the blue line through the map of our area down 52 up to Goodview, then up to Red Wing. But so I don't know what the status of that plan. One time it was 2026, but that was like 3-4 years ago.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's in the plan yet or not to do that, but that would be the other. It's not really a safe route to school. I mean, it could be because you go to Douglas Trail and take Douglas Trail to the school. It goes right by it.
Right. Well, I'll do a little work on that. I slipped through and I should have been doing that
So
before.
there's two different ways, but those are the ways that Rebecca and I were talking about with our previous EDA. So,
Okay.
and you can, by all means, how's she doing? Have you heard?
I have not. Has she got a new job or not?
Last I spoke with her, she was managing a bar while she was looking for something more economic development related. So she's working.
I'm sure she fit in right well.
Yeah.
I think she
Based
did
on her experience of being a
that.
bartender.
She did that before, yeah, she was bartender.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, yeah, I'll get that in.
Now, the other part of the trail system is from Riverwood Hills. That's in our budget. It's in our CIP plan, not our budget. It's in our CIP plan to pave all of the remaining Riverwood Hills Park trails. Is like 132,000. What it doesn't include is a trail from Mountain View. Sunnyview. I think it's Mountain View, this road right here. There's a little 3-acre city park down to 3rd Avenue Southwest. And then to 12th Street, then down to Lake Shady. So there's an area here, it's a city park, it's not a city land, it's not a city park, but we mow it from this, we're just across the street, this white gray is the Riverwood Hills Park from the playground. It goes up here to Mountain View, this road here, then it jogs over, then goes down through this city property to 3rd. And that could be used for some design work as well. For continuing the bike trail.
Right up.
And it also could be for striping, because along Lake Shady, there is on one side, so it could be used for striping all the way up through this area too, on Lake Shady for bicycle. Or wherever it needs to be shared, going across the bridges, that type of thing, so.
All right, so I'll stay on that. Reports. Open seat, I did contact Carl Rogers, I spoke to him, and he was very receptive to the possibility of joining the Economic Development Association, so I'll continue that. He was going to fill out an application. So, speaking to him, I haven't heard anything from him in a couple of weeks, so I'll give him a call this week to see how.
Okay.
But yeah, he was,
So you want me to touch base? I can touch base.
yeah, that'd be great if you want to do that and let me
Yeah.
know. Yeah. As far as networking this week or this month, I did contact the owner of the Gas and Go. It wasn't the most fruitful contact. English is an issue. So it was more nervous that I was from kind of the city. So when I stop in there, I'll get more information because it's got new owners, the Gas and Go. I spoke to Hilltop Campers and Tilly's, and they're doing very, very well. I spoke with Andre Ringel about the possibility of an Eagle Scout. I kind of knocked those possibilities down to something that an Eagle Scout could do, such as a shelter or getting rid of vegetation, saving the city some money. I met with Marty Walsh, as we saw, and I met with Whitney West Marketing, or Tulip Tree Marketing, with Whitney was the leader of that. And yeah, I'll continue those. this month. And I think we're down to Laura. Let her see.
I just wanted to come down and introduce myself. Again, I'm Laura Qualley, for those that I didn't meet when you first came in. I work with Kurt from CEDA, so I'm technically the regional manager for the Goodhue County and Dodge County areas. So I guess I'm Kurt's boss, which is kind of a weird thing, but that's just what it is. So I serve the Cannon Falls contract 3 days a week. That's also where I live. And then I serve the Dodge County contract 1 day a week. So then that gives me 1 day to kind of catch up and check in with my team. And I've been trying to make it to an EDA meeting in all the communities. So Kurt has 3 different communities. Some of my other colleagues on our team serve 3 to 4. They're a small contract, so trying to make my way through all of them before the year ends. So I just wanted to come down. It worked. I didn't have a meeting. I didn't have a council meeting that I needed to attend tonight, so I wanted to make sure that I got in before the snow started to fly, so.
Good.
But if you ever have any questions or concerns or whatever, don't hesitate to reach out. I've got some cards I can leave with you. We will have, we have a phone conversation with Jason Baker last week or 2 weeks ago, just talking about what 2026 looked like for CEDA in your community. And he did say that that he's budgeted to bump the contract back up to 1 day a week. So that Kurt can have more time to work on projects and whatnot in your community. So we did change it, I know for 25 to just do an every other week or 2 days a month, but Jason has budgeted to go 1 day a week for next year or so.
So our first year with CEDA was, I think it wasn't 2 days a month.
I think that it was 1 day. That was before, that was because I've just been in this role almost a year now. So I'm not sure what the original contract was. I know that it changed in 25 and it went down
The
to,
one single day, because we cut back on our budget, so what
Yeah.
it is in the budget proposal right now for 1 day a week, which I think is great.
yeah.
To see it, support that.
Yeah.
And Kurt does show up for our meetings, so just in case you're wondering if he does, he is here for all of them, so.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Nice,
but,
we're glad he's here. He's,
well, that's good, that's good to hear. So,
1 day a week is, or 1 day a month is not a very efficient, effective way to,
It's hard to get momentum.
it is, it really is. Fortunately, we got our branding program going, so that's a plus right now, so.
So, but, and I've asked, and I, told Kurt, I said, if you want to, run the EDA packet by your agenda by me ahead of time, so that I can kind of go through. So I've been with CEDA for 5 years, almost 5.5 now. I've seen quite a few projects, especially a lot of housing. I've worked on a lot of housing projects in Cannon Falls. And, just a lot of other things as well. So, if there's ever anything that I can, kind of offer some suggestions or just different perspective, that I'm happy to do that as well, so.
Yeah, we've got a lot of potential for growth and there's a lot of things happening now. And once we get our codes in place, that will kind of help eliminate that discussion, so.
Yeah, so I'll leave, like I said, I'll leave a few of my cards. So if you ever have any questions or whatever, feel free to reach out.
Okay.
So thanks for letting me crash your meeting tonight.
Well, thanks for coming down.
Absolutely.
All right, any other comments for the group? Seeing none, I make a motion, the meeting adjourned.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, 7:34. That I see.